basis of misinformation, that's a kind way of putting it, of the existence of weapons of mass destruction, and the way in which 1 million people and more marched through London that day, enormous march through Glasgow that day, and indeed there were marches through 600 cities all across the world, a universal worldwide day, wanting peace rather than war in Iraq. Sadly, those that could have stopped it didn't. They started it, and the consequences are still there. They're there in Iraq, they're there in Syria, they're there in Lebanon, they're there in Libya, they're there all across the region. The hatred, the bitterness, the destitution, the poverty and the destruction continues. Human beings died, soldiers, civilians and many others. Many others have been forced into exile, refugees and just trying to escape. I visited some of the refugee camps and met people that have escaped from these awful situations. Cannot we change the language that's been used of those desperate people trying to get across the Mediterranean? Those poor desperate people. And not pretending there are easy solutions to any of these issues. There aren't. But there has to be an approach that we look upon the refugee crisis around the world as a humanitarian crisis that we, as a relatively rich country, and all the other relatively rich countries in the world, must play a part in and make a contribution to try and bring about stability for those people, to bring about some degree of hope and some security for them. Let's not use the languages of swarm and abuse and all those kind of things. Let's instead use something rather better. Because that kind of destitution will lead to a lot of anger. A lot of anger leads to a lot of people ultimately doing some very dangerous and very crazy things. If we want to live in a stable, decent, peaceful world, it's got to be a world that's a lot more equal than it is at the present time. Not easy to achieve, that I fully understand, but the fundamental approach has to be that. Our campaign is at one level a campaign about a position in the Labour Party of leader and deputy leader, but it's also an issue about how we do politics, how we do things, and how we change society. And the numbers of people that have come forward, 600,000 now, that are taking part in this electoral process. I welcome that, and I'm delighted there's so many taking part. I want people to stay together after September the 12th, because there's going to be some very important policy discussions to engage in. And we have produced a leaflet today about delivering on those 10 issues. I've referred to some of them in my contribution earlier, about the kind of society and the world that we want to live in. These things are not easy, these things are possible, and they can be achieved. But they're not going to be achieved by politicians in isolation, handing down policies from secluded drawing rooms in secluded and comfortable parts of this country. They're going to be achieved of ordinary people coming together in the spirit of those that founded our movement, the spirit of those that brought us the women's right to vote and the democracy we've got. They're going to be achieved by those kind of people coming together. All of us, in other words. So, if you're a supporter of the Labour Party, thank you. I prefer it and hope you'll become a member of the Labour Party, so you'll be there for that debate, that discussion, those important decisions that we're going to have to make. We're there to mobilise people, we're there to excite people. Don't think that the rich and powerful, who are so upset at the things we're saying at the moment, are going to go away. I don't think they are. They're going to be around and they're going to make an awful lot of noise against the kind of things that we're saying. But surely it's worth it to do things together, worth it to build housing for those people that need it, worth it to take away the debt of those students that have worked so hard to qualify and be given a 50k debt, worth it to have a society where we don't have people sleeping on the streets, worth it to unleash the talents of people to work in productive industries, grow our society and grow our economy, worth it to make a contribution to an ecologically and environmentally sustainable world, not one that we all destroy. None of it is easy. Together, we've got great ideas. Together, we are very, very strong. And that is why this summer of 15 is a very interesting turning point in the political history of our society. Thank you very much.